Alright, I think we're live. So what's going on, everybody? It's Sean Evans, host of First We Feast Hot Ones. I'm here to do this sort of live Q&A thing, but before we start, a couple quick things that we have to get out of the way. First, thank you to all the Hot Ones fans out there. It's such a ridiculous show. We never thought it would ever get the traction that it has now, but it's amazing to see it grow the way it has, and we're so happy that we can deliver episodes on a weekly basis. So thank you, everybody, for rocking with us. I hope that you continue to rock with us. And then today, during the Q&A, we have 10 prize packs, okay? So one's from Heatonist. Heatonist is where you can pick up the Hot Ones hot sauce. So if you haven't picked up a bottle yet, you're curious about it, you want to try it, if you send a really good question, you could win a bottle of Hot Ones hot sauce and another hot sauce that Heatonist has put together. They're amazing curators of hot sauce, so it's gonna be good. And then we have 5 more prize packs with Hot Ones merch. You can get a hat, you can get a t-shirt. So in total, 10 prize packs. So send your questions. I know right now we're gonna work through some Twitter questions, some YouTube questions, but after that, we're going to the Facebook questions. So if you're watching us right now on Facebook and you're like, have a question that you're dying to get out, send it through to us, because once I get through all these, I'll start working on Facebook questions, and I don't care. I'll be here all day if I have to, all right? Hot Ones fans need to know. So that's the stuff that we need to get out of the way, and so let's just get into the Q&A here. So this first one looks like it's from Thrashish, and he asks, who are your top 3 interviewers? Mine are Terry Gross, Nardwuar, James Lipton. Okay, I think those are great names. Nardwuar is one of these people that it doesn't matter who he's interviewing, I have to watch, because he always brings out these human emotions, and those are my favorite. That's my favorite thing to see. So Nardwuar will always hit people where they don't expect to be hit, and they'll have some sort of genuine human reaction to it. So it doesn't matter who he's talking to. It doesn't matter if I've never even heard of the person before. I always have to watch Nardwuar interviews. That said, top 3 is tough. Top 3 is tough. So I would say the greatest interviewer ever is Howard Stern. The second best ever is David Letterman. And then my third favorite, and this is going to be kind of a curveball, but the guy does not get enough credit, is Andy from Bravo. Andy Cohen's an amazing interviewer. People watch What Happens Live. He's really good at asking and framing questions. So Andy Cohen, low-key, a guy who deserves much more attention. All right, let's move on. So this is Chef Boy Waddy. Oh, and by the way, I like that question. So since I like that question, to @Thrashish, you're getting a prize pack. You're going to get some Hot Ones merch. All right, moving on. Who did you think wouldn't get through but did, and who did you think would get through but didn't? That's a good question. I think that the people that I thought would get through and didn't. Jim Gaffigan. I thought Jim Gaffigan was going to knock down 10 wings, no problem, and he ran into some issues and ended up on the wall of shame. But if I had money, I would have put it on Jim Gaffigan. Jim Gaffigan. Number 1 guy who I thought was going to make it through and didn't. And then on the people that I didn't make it through, I thought wouldn't make it through but did, I got to put Tommy Chong at the top of the list. And a lot of people say that he was the greatest performance of all time, that he wasn't even fazed by the hot sauces. The guy is in his 70s. I had no faith that he was going to get through, but he did. Other people that surprised me were Riff Raff, because I saw the wheels coming off at about question 6, and I was like, uh-oh, this might end badly, and then he just rallied through. I think he had some issues afterwards, but he did make it through the show. And then I would say that Currency kind of surprised me in the same way, that he had such a heavy face sweat that I'm like, there's no way he's going to live through this thing, and he made it all the way through. Anthony Rizzo, because he had a game that night or the next day, I was like, well, he's not going to make it through, but he's an athlete, and he's an animal, and he's competitive, and he just wouldn't allow himself to quit. But those, I think, are the 3 people that I didn't make it through, and then they did. And then the one that I'm like, wish they made it through and didn't, was Jim Gaffigan. All right. Hi, Sean. Which White Sox player would you love to interview? Konerko, Frank Thomas, Sale, or the number 1 Sox fan, Barack Obama? All right, here's the thing about politicians, is they're not actually sports fans. They all pander to sports fans for whatever reason, to get some sort of I'd like to have a beer with him vote. Konerko, one of my all-time favorites. I'd love to talk to him. Frank Thomas's son, Sterling, is actually a big Hot Ones fan, and we've actually sort of talked about trying to persuade his dad to do the show because I idolized him growing up and had Frank Thomas posters all over my wall and wore Frank Thomas hats and had the Frank Thomas Reeboks and only cared about Frank Thomas and had to watch Frank Thomas. And I love when Frank Thomas used to hit home runs even though he'd swing his back leg out. Like, the guy was just amazing. But my number one favorite White Sox of all time, and I guess that's who I'd have to interview, would be Mark Burley. I love Mark Burley, still love Mark Burley. I feel like I have questions for Mark Burley. I feel like Mark Burley would be a great interview. So number one White Sox that I'd like to interview is Mark Burley. Also on there is I'd really like to talk to Hawk Harrelson, who does the announcing, and I'd like to talk to Ozzie Guillen, because I think Ozzie Guillen would be an amazing interview. All right. Which guest do you feel avoided answering some questions? This is a good question. I think, oh, and by the way, Hot Ones prize pack for Zachary Bright, who asked me the White Sox question. I enjoyed answering that question. Which guest do you feel avoided answering some questions? That's a good one. I feel like sometimes when we have athletes in here that they're very good at skating through questions because they kind of have to. They have so many strings attached to them that if you ask them something hard, I think I asked Prince Amukamara if he thought Roger Goodell was worth being paid twice as much money as Aaron Rodgers, and kind of had to like skate that even though he was fighting off the hot sauces. But I think athletes just in general, because the waters are so muddy that like they kind of can't even really say anything because they have so many sponsors attached to them. They have the eyes of the league on their back. They have like so many fans that are going to be upset if they don't say exactly the right thing. So I would say every time we have an athlete on the show, it always feels like it's not totally right. Whose idea was the show and who was your favorite interview? Both good questions. So this is from Brock's Daddy 0819. The idea is from Chris Schoenberger from First We Feast. It was his idea, and sometimes you hear Schoenberger alluded to during episodes. Sometimes we knock down, I don't know if it's the third wall or the fourth wall or whatever that phrase is, but we'll always be like, Schoenberger, like we need more almond milk, or like Schoenberger, where are these wings from? Schoenberger, it was his idea, is kind of inspired by Alexa Chung, who used to do these disruptive interviews on this old English show called Pop World. And then we have to shout out Tony Ayo from G Unit because he helped us workshop the idea. He didn't have to, but he was like, yo, you should be eating wings too. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. I don't know why we didn't think of it. So Chris Schoenberger, Alexa Chung, and Tony Yayo, like a perfect storm coming together, and that's how you have Hot Ones. This one is from Twitter user Gabriel Mueller. Sup guys, love the show. Is there any guest that you guys invited that refused to come because of his dislike of hot sauce? Jeremy Lin. And Jeremy Lin, if you're out there, open invite if you ever get over it. You and me know what's up. You and me have talked, and he asked me the question. What do you want me to do? Not answer it? Be dishonest? That's not what I do. I ask him honestly. So Jeremy Lin, let's go. Get over here. Let's get over this whole thing together. All right. From YouTube user Anthony Miranda, why haven't you guys acknowledged Eddie Huang's L? I am so happy that this question was asked. I've been chomping at the bit to answer this one. Eddie doesn't fit into a category. He came in here completely cold and then cleaned the wing on not only death sauce, but then because he was just so stunned by what was going on, he then cleaned the wing on Mad Dog 357. That is a very extreme thing to do, just off the street, haven't even stretched out yet, haven't worked up your tolerance, and then to just clean the wing on the two hottest sauces? You can't put somebody like that on the wall of shame, and that's a Hot One's promise. If you come in here, and before I even ask you a question, clean the two hottest wings, and then go to the bathroom for 20 minutes, and then like physically endure what must have been just basically a torture experience, and then after going through all of that, you come back and you deliver one hell of an interview, you're not going on the wall of shame. Like, I wouldn't say that he was a winner. I wouldn't say that it was like the greatest performance of all time. It definitely wasn't that, but he's just his own category. Neither a winner nor a wall of shame person. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to back down from that. I don't care if some Hot Ones fans get upset about it. That's just it. That's the deal. That's the deal. Curious as to the wing making process you guys use for each sauce/wing. Can you elaborate on your prep and cooking? So this is a good question. Unfortunately, I'm not the best person to ask because before the show starts, I'm usually in here. I'm either like talking to a guest or I'm doing a mic check or whatever. So I'll occasionally see bowls moving and stuff and like things going on, but I'm not like right there watching over it, and I'm not saucing the wings myself. So from what I understand, Chris Schoenberger, who we've talked about a couple times now and probably we'll talk about a little bit more later on in the show, what he does is he tosses them in a bowl. So it's like there's the first 7 sauces, I think. You put the sauce in a bowl, you toss the wing, and that way you have full coverage on the wing. For these last 2 or 3, maybe it's just the last 2, you have to be a little bit careful with how much hot sauce you use, because it can actually be a little dangerous, and we don't want to like really hurt anybody. So it's a little bit of these 2 sauces, like a smaller amount than you'd have in these 2, but we're still tossing them in the bowl so that it has full coverage, so that nobody can sort of hide from the hot sauce. And then of course on the last one we dab, so it leaves nothing to be questioned. All right, Sean, has there ever been a guest reaction while filming Hot Ones that cannot put in the finished video? I would say overall no. I think we put pretty much every reaction that we think is awesome in the video. There have been times when somebody has like a line of snot going, or like a booger, or like something just like gross and off-putting. We don't put that in there. Our idea is not, we don't want to embarrass anybody. We don't want to like put anybody out that way, but we want them to be like checked by the hot sauces and feel those sorts of like hot sauce punches in the face. And then like, you know, with Coolio like spitting in the garbage can, like if something crazy and novelty happens, we put it in there. With Eddie Huang, we had, you know, the sound going, but we thought, you know, that was enough. Hey Sean, I've always wondered what the Hot One sauce tastes like. What comparison heat-wise and taste-wise? Well, I don't know. It's for sale. Like if you were that curious to how much it cost, you could just buy it. So why don't you just spend the $12, all right? But it's good. How about that? It's good. It's a really awesome sauce. I'm not just saying that because it has my name on the bottle. Even if it didn't have my name on the bottle, I'd say it would still be my favorite sauce in this whole lineup. So we love those sauces. All right, how many different sauces did you guys try before you picked the 10 different sauces that you use on the show? So Chris Schoenberger, always coming back. He's the editor-in-chief of First We Feast, but before that he did a lot of food writing with Time Out. So he's tried hundreds of hot sauces. He's really into it. And then basically what he's done is kind of curate this, and then we've played with it over time. We've subbed some hot sauces out, we've subbed new hot sauces in, and we'll probably continue to do that as the show evolves. But basically we have in his genius hot sauce mind a very logical progression that we think really tests people, whether they're new to the chili game, whether they're expert level chili heads, like whatever. We think we have like a pretty formidable attack that we put on them, and it's curated this way from Chris Schoenberger's brain. All right, let's keep it moving. I love this. I'm having so much fun. Does DJ Khaled have an act 24/7, or does he really believe everything he says? It seems unbelievable. I would say DJ Khaled is a really interesting person to talk to and to be around, and I would say that he's a good marketer. I think some of this stuff he plays up. I don't think that it's a coincidence that he has 10 million different key slogans and they all end up on t-shirts that end up in the DJ Khaled store. Like, this is not something that happens in a vacuum. But all of that said, like, DJ Khaled really is DJ Khaled. Like, it's not a total transformation. Like, the fundamental is there. The architecture for the character that you see is in DJ Khaled's DNA. Okay, what is Sean's recovery time and process after each Hot Ones episode? So here's what you should learn about me. I'm somebody who travels 4 times a month. I'm on a fucking plane. But I still have never filled out airline miles. Like, I don't have airline miles. I probably could go around the globe 10 times for free. I still haven't figured it out. I still don't know how to do it. Like, even though it would take 10 minutes to figure out, I still haven't done it. The reason I bring all that up is because I don't do anything. I don't do anything to prepare. I don't pop a Tums. I don't do a Pepsi AC. I don't even know the tricks. I don't even know what would help. I've never had an antacid in my life, I don't think. And so I just go in with, like, basically, like, without stretching. And then afterwards, I don't do anything. If I were to go to the gym after a Hot Ones episode, like, I'd probably cancel those plans, but otherwise it doesn't change my life. I just go home, maybe I get a Gatorade, I crank the AC, I throw on some basketball shorts, I just try to chill out, That's basically it. But I don't have like a thing. There's nothing I'm taking, there's nothing I'm drinking. It's no performance enhancers. I'm just real. Who was stupid / crazy enough to use Blair's Megadeth sauce regularly? How did dabbing the last wing begin? Okay, so I don't know the first part of this question. I don't know who would be that stupid. But about how the dabbing began is I don't even know. Like, this might be one of those things that some of the Hot Ones hardcore fans could dig into, because I don't even know where it began. I don't know. Like, I know it happened early on because we do it quite frequently, and I can't remember where it started. So I actually don't even know the answer to that. But anyways, we're also going to let's give a Hot Ones merch pack to the person who asked me about my recovery time. I like that question, even though I didn't have much of it. So, I want to run my own challenge with friends, but I need a prize / punishment for the winner / loser. Any suggestions? I would say you go for it. You know what I mean? Like, these things are their own wins and their own losses. So, if you're somebody who makes it to Wing 7 and then can't complete, like, maybe that's like the type of person you are. Like, maybe you almost get to the top of the hill and then you stop. Like, that's punishment enough. Having to look in the mirror after that, or having to go to bed at night after that, that's the punishment. And on the winner side, if you just make it through, that's winning. That's a W. If you just get through 10 wings and 10 sauces, I think that you can feel proud of that. You don't need a trophy to validate yourself, okay? Like, just remember the time that you got through the sauces. You don't need some stupid reminder on your mantle. Tapatio or Valentina, which do you prefer? Valentina, it's not on our show, but that's the shit. Valentina's great. I think I rock with Valentina there. How did you guys handle Eric Andre after he started smashing stuff? Well, if you watch the episode, what do you do? I think you just let the guy smash stuff. I just think you let the guy break stuff. I think you just let Eric Andre be Eric Andre, and then afterwards he just kind of like slunk out of... Actually, Eric was the best. Eric, after the show, was in a rough spot, but he was kind of like, yo, do you want to watch the first episode of season 4? And this is like months and months ago, and I'm such a fan of his show that I was like, sure, absolutely. So he and I got into a conference room, grabbed another couple Complex employees, and while Eric was sort of like hunched over holding his stomach, we watched the first couple episodes of season 4 of the Eric Andre show, which was a lot of fun. Why no politicians or authors on the show? The disarming nature of hot sauces would be perfect. It's amazing that you bring that up. Politicians, we reach out to all of them. They all dodge us. You know why? Because the show's too real. So Hillary, we've reached out to, and actually, to her credit, her campaign didn't just say like flat out no to us, or didn't go radio silence. I'm not sure how much like I can share or whatnot, but like, I don't know. Like, maybe we'll get Hillary, honestly. But I would say like everybody else is just radio silence. They don't want to mess with us. Okay, this is from Twitter user Arestrio. What are your plans or ideas on evolving Hot Ones? That's a really good question. And kind of, I think that there are a lot of fans who like the basic setup, and we like the structure too, because you can kind of compare how different people would react to different things. But we think about these things all the time. We think about little offshoot mini-series that we could do. I really enjoyed what I did with Chili Klaus last August, where we both ate a Carolina Reapers. So I think that if we can do more of those types of things and have something where, you have the Hot Ones episode that drops on Thursday, but then maybe on Tuesday you do some sort of like Chili Klaus offshoot thing or some other different miniseries. These are the sorts of questions that we have, but Complex proper we like. Like, we don't really want to make it a big spectacle, and we don't want it to be a reaction show. Like, we really think of ourselves as an interview talk show, and we want to stay that way. So evolving Hot Ones, we hope to give the fans more because they've been so into it, but we don't want to do any wholesale changes, at least not right now. Okay, so I'm going to go to Gchat because we kind of worked our way through all of the YouTube and Twitter questions, which were all awesome, by the way. I know that maybe if I didn't give out 5 prize packs, we'll go through in the end and trace back who we should give prize packs to. So I know I probably didn't give away all of them, but don't worry, we're going to give away all of them. Okay, hey! Lee Edward, is it hard to concentrate on what your guests are saying and their answers to your questions while consuming the extremely hot sauce? That's a good question. I think actually that I'm in the advantage in that case. I think when I do normal interviews without hot sauce, we're both operating at 100%, and in those cases, it actually moves a little bit faster. In this show, I feel like we're kind of stunning our guests, so I can kind of sit back and play off them. Like, to be honest with you, it's easier for me to work in this environment than it is in some other environment, if I'm being real about it. All right. Will you be changing up the hot sauces for future episodes? You know, we've done it in the past. I think we'll do it in the future. I think that this progression works really well, which is probably why we've stuck with it for so long. But that's a thing that we talk about sometimes. Maybe we bring in some new things, bring in some fresh blood, bring in some new sauces. Who knows? Biggie or Tupac, who would you rather eat wings with? That's a good question. Two of my favorites. Fuck, you know what? I think Tupac would be the better Hot Ones interview, honestly. Like, if I'm playing him in my head right now, I think Tupac gives the better interview. I think that he's probably more demonstrative. I think that he's probably, like, a little bit crazier. I think, like, it could have the potential to fly off the rails a little bit more. So, Tupac. All right. What is this? Chicago Rapid Fire. Do you think the Chicago Cubs are going to win this year? So it's a really good team, and they're really fun to watch. Obviously, I have a soft spot for Anthony Rizzo and all these young guys that they bring up. They're all so good. They're all so exciting. But here's the thing about the Cubs. It's been my whole life. You know, there have been times before where they've had stacked teams. There have been times before where they've been an inch away from the World Series, and they always blow it. So I think if you're the Cubs, you're just the team that blows it until you prove otherwise. This is one of the best Cubs teams that I've ever seen in my life, but I've seen arguably better ones fall flat on their faces. So this seems to be a new thing. I like what Madden's doing. The team's a lot of fun to watch, very talented, but until the Cubs prove otherwise, I think they're a team that chokes. Favorite Blackhawks player and player you'd love to have on the show? I'm not the biggest hockey fan, and here's the thing about Chicago. When I was growing up, Drew Abney and Adam Hartley were the only two Blackhawks fans I knew, and then they started winning Stanley Cups every year, and now everyone in Chicago is such a huge Blackhawks fan. But I've always kind of stuck to my guns on that. I never watched a minute of hockey. I try to get a little bit into the playoffs, but I'm not a hockey guy. I'm just not a hockey guy. I think, like, Quinville, the coach, I think would be a great Hot Ones interview. I'd love to have him on the show. But other than that, I don't know. I'd have to learn so much more about hockey. I'd have to jump into these guys' heads more, like Blackhawks, whatever. I like this Chicago Rapid Fire that we got going. All right. How do the hot sauces on the show compare to the Carolina Reaper you ate? None of them come close. That's the thing about Carolina Reapers and why you shouldn't eat them. The Carolina Reaper is like 10 times hotter than their hottest hot sauce. It's like basically, I don't know. It's flirting with death. For 10 hours after I ate that Carolina Reaper, I was like, fuck, like regretting it in a major, major way. It was as much pain as I've ever been in my entire life from the moment I ate it until like the next morning. So Carolina Reapers are a beast all their own. They're the worst. What's a guest that you're trying to get on the show? So many great talents out there in all forms of entertainment. Who would you love to interview on Hot Ones? So this is going to sound sort of self-serving, but it's true. Like, we really are a show that's for the people. So we see who you guys request. Like, I know everyone wants Action Bronson, and everybody wants Bill Burr, and everybody wants Tyler, the Creator. Like, we know who our top 5 are. We know who the people request, and then we reach out to those people and are like, here's the situation. We have this show. A lot of your fans seem to watch it. They clamor for you to be on it. If you want to give the people what they want, like we want to give the people what they want, come on our show. That's kind of our pitch, and we've had a lot of success with that. The other thing I would say is you got to kind of just be patient. Like, everyone's always like, Bill Burr, Bill Burr, Bill Burr, Bill Burr. We've talked to Bill Burr, and Bill Burr, I'm not like involved in all the talks all the time, but he's kind of like, oh, this seems kind of interesting, and maybe when F is for Family Season 2 comes out, Bill Burr will pay us a visit, and we can give the fans what they want, and maybe it'll be as awesome as everybody expects it'll be, and maybe he can come back and do blah, 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 blah. But these are all things that we don't figure out yet until F is for Family Season 2 comes out. The Rock is a guy that I'm trying to get in here really hard. I've sent some impassioned pleas to him. Basically, we look at all the people that people want on. We try to bring on people. You know, we're always going to just do it. Chris and I are always going to just do what we want. We're always going to just bring people on that we think are interesting, that we think have cool stories to tell, and who we think our fans will really enjoy. But that's what it is. We're for the people, and that's the thing. Okay, so I'm going to answer one more. Maybe two more. I don't know. Favorite rapper interviewed? That's a good question. I think the most fun I had during an interview with a rapper, and okay, this is gonna probably surprise Hot Ones fans, but I really enjoyed my time with Joe Budden. The comments are so divisive. Oh, Joe's like being rude to Sean. Joe this, Joe that. I fucking love Joe Budden. I love all my conversations with Joe Budden. Joe's just Joe. I like that he doesn't come in here and pretend to yuck it up with his best friend Sean. Like, I like how he comes in here challenging. I like how he comes in here guarded. I like Joe Budden a lot. I think he's a really interesting dude. I could talk to him all day long. And for the Hot Ones fans that don't like the Joe Budden episode, I'm sorry, but I would bring him in here again tomorrow if I could. And then they asked, can you shout out Chris Murphy? And I'd love to shout out Chris Murphy. Our editor, Chris Murphy, shouting out Chris Murphy. And then you know when you get to Chris Murphy shout-outs that you've really scraped the bottom of the barrel. So that would mean that this thing is done. I think I forgot to give away the Heatonist prize packs because, you know, for people who are new here, Hot Ones is a bit of an amateur operation. I am a bit of an amateur TV guy. So I will give away the Heatonist packs. We'll probably just give them to the first 5 people that I answered Facebook questions for. Is that cool? All right, I'll wrap this up. To the Hot Ones fans out there, thank you so much for rocking with us this long. It's been 30 episodes, but we want to give you 30 more, and then 30 more, and then 30 more after that. And then I had a lot of fun doing this, so if it got the response, if people tuned in, and if they'll tune in again, I'd love to do it again, and hopefully we won't have to wait 30 episodes for it. Hopefully we'll just, you know, do it every 10 episodes or something. All right, so thanks for rocking with us. New episode of Hot Ones tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's going to be a Hot Ones classic. If you're a Hot Ones fan, you're going to really love this episode. And thank you so much. I appreciate your time.